that I'm no joke. No joke, baby, I'm no joke. Oh, na, na, na. No joke, baby, I'm no joke. Oh, na, na.
Hey guys, welcome to Talk That Talk. Today you're joined by myself, Porsche, and to the right I've got the lovely Lara.
Hi.
Clint.
Hey.
Iysh.
Hi.
April.
Hello.
And the lovely Faith.
Hey.
So today's topic we'll be discussing are women becoming less feminine and more masculine. So guys, what's your take on this?
I don't feel like females are becoming less feminine. I just feel like society's just not used to us doing what we want to do, basically. Yeah. It's just not the norm, and it's just not what is stereotypically known as being a female. Like, any little thing that's not ladylike, if you're not being a maid, you're not ladylike, if you don't know how to cook, are you even a woman? Okay, so I feel like it's just society, they're just not used to it, basically. And females now, it's like, they want to do what we want to do, we're trying to be, we're in control, we're being bosses, do you know what I mean? So I just feel like society's not used to it.
So from what I've gathered from what you've just said, you reckon that women are not conforming to the traditional social roles that were once in place.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree?
No, definitely, because I think even back in the day, like, women were trying to kind of encourage that kind of behaviour, like they wanted to be more independent and it was discouraged. So I just think that now it's just being more encouraged by people, that it's like okay for women to kind of do stereotypically jobs that maybe they weren't trained to do back in the day, kind of thing.
Well, like you say, men's jobs.
Sorry?
You're talking about men. You're saying, we're bossy because men have been bosses. So when you say...
I didn't say that.
You said, it's on there on camera, whoever's watching, just rewind. You said
I said
women are being bossy.
We're being bosses, yeah.
We're being bosses now because men were bosses before.
Correct.
And what you've just said about... Sorry, also it says, we should be able to cook and... Yeah, what's wrong with that? Why is that a problem?
There's nothing wrong with that, but what I'm just saying...
Yeah, so why do you feel like that's a... Hang on. Why do you feel like that's a means of liberation? Because you now have less qualities than women of the past.
I feel like just the parameters...
Well, it is less quality, isn't it? Because if a woman can cook, clean, blah, 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 and she's what you would call oppressed, but I would say that's a form of liberation. Why are you now saying... One moment. Let me
do you know what?
Hang on a minute. Why are you now saying we've got less qualities than the women of the past, worse qualities, arguably, and this is making us feel liberated?
I
That's a joke.
I think what she's saying is that the qualifying aspects of what makes you feminine have shifted, and even just the parameters of what makes a feminine woman, we are challenging that. I say we.
Feminism.
But to some degree there is the feminism aspect, yes. But I think that before, women were kind of put in a very tight box of what they could do. I'm not saying that it was bad, because it kind of worked to some degree in past years. Mm-hmm. But today it doesn't really work like that, because just the way that that society is set up now, women have to go out and they kind of have to work, and we can't rely on men the way that we used to, and we don't want to either. And just feeling that sense of liberation to express ourselves, were just like our parents' generation, women wouldn't go on girls' holidays and girls' trips and stuff like that. It's not all about twerking and being sexual and stuff like that. It's even just stuff like experiencing the world that we are so blessed to be living in. Do you know what I mean? So
I think from what you've basically described, like, there's been quite a few things that have come up. So, for instance, you've mentioned the fact that women are now taking on board different roles that they never used to take on board previously, mainly because obviously the economy's shifted quite a bit. Like, look how expensive it is living in London. You can't just go off of one income. Obviously, we've had loads of women fight for equality as well. They want equal pay, rightfully so. I think you mentioned something along the lines of women not feeling... I think where you're trying to come from was like women aren't shamed to do or to display certain behaviours, and it's not a thing of whereby they feel pressured to take on board certain roles, such as doing the cooking, the cleaning, etc., etc. I think where this, for this question in particular, do you think there's certain masculine roles that women are now adopting?
Okay.
In light of,
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Right? So basically, a woman can cook, clean, run a household, be a mom, go to school, go to work, go to the gym, and still be a bad bitch at the end of the day. Like, back in the day, it was usually, women, they run the household, the men brings home the bacon. In today's society, women can do a lot without a man. We don't need men.
Without dropping the traditional things that you were meant to do as well. You just add. You're just doing what men can do as well as what women are supposed to do.
Exactly.
It's not leaving the cooking, the cleaning. It's doing that.
We can do that as well as everything else.
I ask you a question. Can men do what women can do?
No.
Yeah. Apart from carry babies.
Yeah.
I had a baby, so no. Women naturally are these superior.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean?
So you send all the women off to war?
Sorry?
Should we send all the women?
You can do because if you ever seen a woman swimming,
Are you going to war? Please stop.
You see, so there's this unacceptance of a men's role.
Yeah.
And where the masculinity comes into it is because you're trying to keep up with men in every way. Just be women. That's what you're good at.
But what's this?
that doesn't make no sense though, because you know what? Everything.
I'll explain. Let men be men and you be women.
it's not competition though. We're not trying to be men.
Why is this constant narrative when someone just said a while ago, we don't need you?
Because we
why
don't.
are you even? Why is that?
You feel offended. No one said it like that. They're basically saying.
You interrupting offends me.
No, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, stop biting in.
You're taking it a bit too personal.
I'm not saying
personally,
personal. I would start a sentence and finish it without even interrupting.
Me personally,
jump down for it.
I don't believe she said it like that.
Yeah.
Look, to answer your question,
Look, I hasn't started and finished. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to start and I'm going to finish.
Okay, but to answer your question.
Because it's going to start because there's going to turn into a problem.
Listen, can I answer your question, please, Clint, right?
Yeah.
You said, can men do everything women can do?
Yeah.
So to answer
the
that...
reason why I pose that, because there's this constant kind of battles, like, we want this equality. There's no problem with, look, see, I work in building sites, sorry to interrupt. If you can do what I can do to the same level, you should get paid the same amount of money.
Okay,
That's
but
facts.
I was going to touch on that.
In any industry,
I was going to touch on
if
that.
you're demanding the same and providing producing the same, you should get paid the same. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm not. But there are certain qualities women have over men, and there are certain qualities men have over women.
Okay.
So when I pose the question, can women do everything a man can do, and vice versa? In some industries, yes, but naturally, no, they can't.
Okay then, but
difference.
I think I disagree with you on that, because it's like I feel like women can do more than what men can do, because it's like you've got all of the scientifics, biology, having babies and stuff. But if you want to put it like that, you've got women bodybuilders, you've got women footballers, you've got women basketball players. Every single line of job that there is for a man, there's women in that field. They might not be getting paid as much, but there's still women in that field. But if you go to the hospital, and go to the maternity ward, you're not going to see a man giving birth.
Because these fields, men dominate it, and women are basically coming
But the same
through.
with women though. But the fact where I am coming from is that yes, there are biological parameters that stop us from being able to do certain things. However, I think if we're going to go for equality and all this stuff, we need to embrace men as well who want to do some of the more stereotypical female things, like being a midwife or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
But there's loads of male midwives.
I feel like the same energy needs to be given, and there shouldn't be some kind of like prejudice or some kind of just looking down on men that want to do those things.
Faith, who's stopping them? That's the thing. Because no one's stopping them.
This is the
But
same
men-
the same society that tells women that we can't do certain things. Tells men that they can't do certain things.
But then society is only made up of two genders, males and females.
No,
So
actually, there's loads of genders now. Sorry to interrupt you.
ultimately, it's made up of two genders. You've got the male and the female. If people feel like, they feel a bit restricted for doing certain roles, for instance, a guy who wants to become a midwife, no one's stopping him. That's his own insecurities. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I feel like it's a feminine role. I can't deliver a baby, etc., etc. But women, I think we've kind of overlooked what we've stopped conforming to what men feel and stuff like that. We've stopped going, all right, cool, that's a masculine job. I can't adopt that job. I can't adopt that role, etc., etc. And they just take it on board. Whereas men, they feel like they're losing their masculine touch and they feel insecure about that. There's no one stopping men from doing whatever they want to do. It's not a competition between the two.
In regards to that, if you go back in history, men were the ones that usually delivered babies and stuff. Like, they were the doctors. They, like, do you know what I mean? Like, men are midwives. Like, what? Like you said,
you had a problem with the fact that she said that we don't need men.
I have a problem if you're talking for men. For men. You're not allowed. You can't do it. I can't sit here telling you
well,
about
this is it, innit? Women are becoming more masculine, innit? Now we're telling you what you think, innit?
Give me a chance to
I can have an opinion. It's the point of the discussion.
Give me a chance to land. What I'm saying is this, I can't sit here going, women need this, women should, or women feel like it. How can I, as a man, express generically how women feel about anything?
That's what society's been doing for us.
You just sat there and done that. Men feel like this because they can't. Men feel.
It's an opinion. It's an opinion. I can explain. I could say Asians feel. But wait 1 minute. I could say Asians feel a certain way. It's my opinion. I'm not saying it's facts. It's an opinion. There's nothing wrong with an opinion. So if I wasn't to say, I'm assuming guys will probably feel this way, the discussion will be empty.
Can I tell you about my experience of being a woman?
What do you think that women are becoming less feminine, and how? And if so, how do you feel about that as a man, basically?
So, for example, women going into things like boxing, like the sports that you listed, they are very masculine sports. Women want to box, mate. Do what you want.
I can box. I box.
If you're not drawing the same crowd, you can't demand the same money. So when you pick up that momentum in years or decades to come, could be next week, could be next century, whenever that happens, if you get to the same level, not skill-wise, but the crowd you draw, the income you generate, then you can get paid the same. Until you're off that level, take a back seat and build your way up there. What I'm saying is, for people to say, for example, if it was equal, then men would be fighting men. Men would be fighting me, wouldn't they? Yeah, so we know there's a difference in our quality. This then goes back to what I was saying earlier on. Women have some qualities above men, and men have some qualities above women. There's just too much of like, we want to do everything you can do. Just be women. Let us be men, and just we'll have to meet someone in the middle to get it.
So to go back to your point about boxing and stuff like that, and it bringing in less money and stuff like that, we're not discussing, we don't care how much money it's bringing in. Our main thing is we enjoy boxing and we're in sport doing what we want to do. So regardless of how much money, we're not complaining that, we're not bringing in a lot of money, etc., etc. We get it. It's the same energy for women's football.
It's a male-dominated sport, and we're able to show that we can do it too. It's just a step forward in society, in a lot of things in general, to be honest. You know?
I agree with that.
Now, like, just changing the dynamic a little bit away from that stuff, and when it comes to relationships and stuff like that, I feel like often there can be a little bit of a power play-off in modern relationships, where in heterosexual ones, where maybe because women we feel a lot more empowered, we hold higher positions of power and things like that. I think that sometimes, like I'm a little bit old school, but I also, I'm jumping a bit here. In relationships, I feel sometimes that women can come with a very masculine energy towards men in relationships, and it is not a recipe for good in that. I'm not saying this as a rule. Some men, it works. Some, that works.
Yeah, it's like some women find it hard to let a man be a man.
With women, stereotypically, women are the softer energy, the more submissive type, whatever you want from that. Yeah. And masculine energy is a lot more dominant. Yeah.
It's natural. Because it's
so when you have two dominant people coming together, much like when two alpha males come together, there can be a clash. Much like when two alpha females come together, there can be a clash. When you've got two alphas trying to assert themselves, it can be a lot of the time it can be a clash. And I feel like that is more prevalent now in our generation, just because of the positions that we hold. It can be difficult when you go home, and turned into that old school-ish woman. Do you know what I mean?
Faith, do you think it's because like women are they in higher paid positions as well? Because, you know, I've heard certain females go around say, well, if I make more money than my man, he can't tell me what to do, do you think it has something to do?
It has something to do with that, but also like even just the music we listen to, like Cardi B and all this stuff, like boss ass bitch, like, you know, give a fuck about a nigga and all that stuff. Like we're just, it's not me, but I feel like it's ingrained in us to some degree. Like, don't let a man tell you what to do. A man can't do this, that. But I actually,
it's not feminism
though,
though, because them same women won't want to go 50-50 on a bill.
And our femininity, and actually, like, this is gonna sound slightly toxic, but you can use your feminine charm to your advantage. You can. So anyway.
I think going back here about like women becoming like more masculine and stuff, like I think a few years ago, like obviously it was, you know, woman meets man, they court, they get married, they have kids, one man, one woman together forever. But then in 2020, you got women that are out here, they got 10 guys on the go.
Yeah.
Screaming real ass bitch, but that's a masculine trait.
Relationship.
And this is it as well, because you see, like when you're a woman and you're independent and you've got your own money, you don't need no one talking to you any type of way because you don't need them for nothing. Then you are too independent to be in a relationship, because at the end of the day, if you're with someone and they're dealing with you in a way that you don't like, and you know that you don't need to stick around because you're not homeless, you're not broke, you're not hungry. At the end of the day, you can tell him whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, like, jog on. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but on the flip side, I feel like previously, women were taking so much shit. I feel like now women are finally finding their voice.
Yeah.
And finally saying to, like, example, their partners that this is not acceptable. I refuse to deal with this. How many people's parents are in a relationship that, I'm sorry, they might not even want to be in, or they just stay in because now women are finally saying, okay, I'm not going to deal with this. This is not acceptable. I can leave. I can do that.
So I think what you lot are basically saying the same thing, that because we become so much more independent, there's no need for us to rely on a man. So we're less likely to tolerate some of the crap that they come with.
You would just take it because you need the income. Do you know what I mean?
Remember the providers, women were the nurturers, that was it. Now women can do the providing. It's like, I'm not going to tolerate this just because you're providing, because I can do it for myself.
But the fact that we're like this, do you think that that's now a problem?
I think that there's been rich women throughout history and they've had happy marriages. So I don't see why all of a sudden now you feel like because you've got a bit of money, that's your right to say to a geezer, I can do what you're talking about. What you're saying to me is completely absurd. It's just rubbish.
Not really. Not really.
It sounds so far-fetched and do you honestly believe that there haven't been rich and powerful women of the past that have had successful marriages?
Not I can do what I want.
Not to the same
But people have stayed in relationships.
Let's talk about abusive relationships.
Let me double barrel that question. Or that women, because they were in a, lesser financial position than their partners, that it didn't stand up to them.
Okay.
This is absurd.
All right, let me ask you something here. So, like, you see, like, from the start of time, there's been domestic violence in relationships.
Yeah, agreed.
In the 1600s or whatever, there was rule of the thumb. You can hit your wife, but the mark can't be any bigger than your thumb. Do you understand? So it's like, going back, like, even like in the 1960s, 1970s, there were women getting abused by their husbands.
Up to today.
And they had, no, but then they couldn't do nothing about it because if they leave, where do they go? Who's going to look after their children?
Why you're focusing
I'm
not
the
negative and all the bad stuff. I want to finish.
So I'm just trying to give you an example.
All the bad stuff that's happened to women.
It's because I'm trying to give you an example. That's why.
Yeah, but all your examples always bad.
No, but you can't.
We were treated bad then. We were treated bad then.
Because women have always been objectified from the beginning of time. Women have been objectified, so it is negative.
Ignore it. I'm only saying, why isn't there also a focus on, you know what, these women, they also made it work.
All right then, so men are fuckboys. Most men are fuckboys, and that makes women want to do whatever the fuck they want. How about that then? Is that a better angle for you? I'm not bitter, but is that a better angle for you?
Most men are fuckboys.
Yeah. Most men are out there. Most men are out there. They've got this one on the go. They've got that one on the go. They've got the baby mum at home. They've got the girlfriend. They've got the side thing. All right, then cool. So we're clocking onto your game now, and now we want to do the same, innit?
But I want to piggyback.
I'm not saying me per se, but there's women out there.
That point, we need to keep it 100% real, yeah? A lot of the time, us women, the things that we complain about within men, the toxic things that we haven't liked them doing, we're doing them now. Why is it that, like, to be liberated means to do the things that we don't like men doing, like being overly promiscuous, being fuck boys, now we're fuck girls, now we're out here just doing the most. I personally don't feel liberated with all that bullshit. I really don't think it feeds your soul. Right. So I don't want anyone to get it twisted, like that side of the liberation. I'm not about that.
So when you said promiscuous, so there's a question here that's, are women becoming more prone to having sex without emotion? So you said the promiscuous thing. I personally feel, okay, in general, I feel
you don't necessarily have to be promiscuous to have
in general, I feel like women are more horny than men. I feel like we have more sexual desires than men. I feel like men they're just physiologically ready. Whereas us is like biological, we have the
I don't agree with you.
You don't agree?
I don't agree with you. Shall I tell you why?
Well, every month,
most men, listen, most men,
I think we are.
Alright, so you see, like, most pre-pubescent boys, yeah? When they're making the transition into puberty or whatever, they have wet dreams.
Yeah.
I've never experienced having a wet dream. Okay. Any of the female friends that I've spoken to, they haven't, they haven't experienced it. But it's more common for men. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Or is it not?
It's definitely not.
No. All right. Well, it must be the men that I know and I speak to.
It's not. But then I feel like now, women are just being honest about it. I feel like we're just being honest about it. Because there's women that, same way men just want to have sex, there's a lot of women that just want to have sex, and I think that now we're just being honest about it. I'm not going to say men, but I'm saying a lot of people have been saying, just because people like Cardi B and Megan are coming out here with the songs and stuff, or City Girls, that's why we're now acting up. No, I feel like everyone's just screaming and shouting to the song because they just relate to it. And they're using the song to basically express how they really feel, but they can't say it by themselves because they're too shocked, because society and men are going to judge them because any little thing, like, I want to have sex, I just want to fuck. Yeah,
okay, Lara, so do you think it's a good thing, the direction in which women have now taken? Would you?
Difficult, I don't know. I feel like it is. For men, it's not. For women, it is, yeah. Because men feel like, okay, they say they don't need us. Men basically are starting to feel useless, basically, because there's nothing they can do anymore, because we're doing it all for ourselves, basically. But I feel like, for example, single mothers, they don't have no one. What do they need to do? Boss up? Like, do you know what I mean? They're going to look for another man to come and take care of them. Women need to be independent.
Well, this is it, because at one point I was a single mother, and my aunt always used to say to me, like, all right, well, if you're going to be a single mum and, you know, your kids ain't going to have a father figure, then you need to think about settling down, because they really need a father figure, whatnot.
You don't get that.
And then at that point, I used to say to her, no, I don't need no one. Like, I'm good. I've got money. I can look after them, this, and that. But until I actually got with my current partner, I started understanding what she meant. Because it's like, even certain things, like the way I deal with them and the way he deals with him, because he's a man, they naturally listen more and they're more inclined to do what he says, because he's a man and he's got that authority. Whereas me, they'll look at me and they'll laugh. Like, yeah, whatever, mum.
You know, I understand that, but not everybody gets that. So if there's a woman and she doesn't have a man, or she doesn't get a man, I don't know for what reason, but what's she going to do? She needs to take care of things by herself. You can't sit around and wait for a man to come and do things for you, especially not in this society. And the younger generations are becoming more dominant than the older generations, to be honest.
So I think there's two different conversations slightly here. Because I think at one point you're saying that, all right, cool, women can't do it all. Like, they do need a man there to kind
Like
of...
in regards to kids, it's biology, innit? Like you need a man to have a baby, innit?
Cool.
So obviously
But then
you
there's
need
also-
a man's presence in the kids'
There's
life.
also the city girl aspect as well, which people kind of see it as we've kind of adopted a masculine sort of role. So, I mean, from your stance, what do you think of the two?
I'm not saying that we don't need men. Like I still have my dad in my life. And
Yeah.
my dad is there, granted. But the way men are going out of women's lives left, right and centre, I just feel like it's good to have your own, it's good to be independent, it's good to boss up. I'm not saying, you don't ever need a man, or every time you see fuck guys or whatever, but have your own, be independent. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying run wild, be promiscuous and,
No worries.
that's not what I'm saying.
No, 100%.
What's your take on that?
Which bit? What?
So do you believe women can survive without a man? That's A. And what do you think about the whole city girl in a nutshell? Just round up.
Can women survive without men? 100%. I just think and I have to say this, your generation just feels like it's almost like it's a battle between you and men. I think that you need to, I say it all the time, you don't want to understand men. You don't have conversations amongst yourselves. I wonder what a guy would think if I had done this, or I wonder what a guy would think if I had done that.
I'm looking for validation though. Every little
It's
thing,
not.
What a man can do,
You see,
what a man can
because
do.
your
Validations,
mindset,
affirmations.
that's why you don't learn, because that's what you see it as. They're giving me validation. It's not that, it's understanding. So for me, if I want to understand a woman, I'll ask you, what do you think about this? How do you think a man should do? But because that's a woman's perspective, and that's what I would need for me to understand future women. For example,
Thank you.
for me to understand,
What's your views on
for
that?
me to understand, for me to understand my wife, my girlfriend, blah blah blah. I'll talk to my aunts, I'll talk to the women close to me, because I know they're going to talk to me with love and sincerity, and they're going to advise me on women. Okay. So that's how I understand women.
That's just my brother.
What I see with this movement, or whatever you want to call it, is with this younger generation is validate. It's not that. It's not validation. I say it again, and I know I'm repeating myself. Women need to sit around, and you need to talk to the men in your families about how to understand men. If a man, you're calling guys fuckboys, does that include your dad?
It fucking does,
Right.
yeah? I come from a family of fuckboys, yeah?
Okay, cool.
I let that be known.
No problem. They're not all like that everywhere you go.
Oh, my family.
And if you feel like you've got a girlfriend, if you feel like you've got a female friend, but you being a female, and you've got a female friend that you're close to, and you think, you know what, the way your brothers behave is okay, let me ask her, or the way her uncle, and you've got that kind of relationship with a separate family, ask them, because they're going to talk to you with love, the same way they talk to their sisters and the women in their family. Because if the women in my family were to ask me, there's these fuckboys, I'd explain to them, look, have you sat with him on a first date? Have you spoke to him in this way? Has he... And you find out, I would have to ask her about his behaviour, and then say, you know what, maybe he said that or he acted this way because you've done that. Not that you're to blame, but it's for you to understand a man's mindset, but he needs to go both ways.
Can I just put something out there? Sex on the first date doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your opinion in the babe? In a nutshell, please.
In a nutshell, like, I think that women are becoming, like, they are demonstrating masculine traits, and they are becoming more independent. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just we're evolving, aren't we? I guess.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I agree. Women and male both have like feminine and male like traits or whatever. I just feel like maybe it seems with women it's being, maybe, I don't know if exaggerated is the right word, but like powered or shown more or whatever. And yeah, again, I don't think it's a bad thing. In regards to the emotional attachment side, I don't completely agree with all the things that I see a lot of girls doing. I do believe your body's your temple and that you should obviously carry yourself correctly as a woman, just in that sense. But in sense of like jobs and wanting equality and stuff, I'm here for it. And yeah.
I hate the city girl conversation coming into this because I just feel like, okay, if you're going to be a city girl, I just feel like be prepared for the consequences that come with that. That can be from... Because I don't think it's a good thing. Why would you want to be a city girl? I don't understand. Why are we celebrating that? I don't understand that. So that in this conversation is just, to me, redundant. But on the topic of redundancy, I feel like men, even though women have more options, because we do, and I'm happy that we do, I benefit from that, and I'm so happy that I'm born in the generation that I'm born in, because of the opportunities that I have, and I can live my life much more fuller than previous women before me, and women that have laid down their and made sacrifices for me to be able to do the things that I can do today. But that said, I feel like we shouldn't forget that we shouldn't treat men like they are like useless or we need to be better than them. It's not a war. I feel like we should just find a way to live in some kind of equilibrium. And it's difficult because there's always going to be like, whenever anybody wants something and someone has to give up something, there's always going to be that tug of war. But I just feel like, can't we just like live in a world where we're just trying to like live hippie and be like hippie? Like, no, but do you know what I mean?
100%.
Is that too idealistic?
No.
Okay, well, me personally, I've taken on board all your opinions, and I totally agree with every aspect that every point you guys have raised and stuff. I do believe the city girl image is damaging, especially for a female's role. I also agree that women are taking on board more masculine roles, and there's nothing wrong with that. Going in accord to your point of view, where you said that you do believe that women should have more conversations with men. Cool, I get all of that. But moving forward, I don't think there's anything wrong with women shifting roles. It happens, evolution. That's just part of life. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us on this topic. Like, comment, and subscribe.